Hey everybody, Matt Johnston here, and I wanted to give an update on a new law involving copyrights and the copyright law. As part of that big bill that was passed and signed into law at the end of December 2020, there was included in there a bill called the CASE Act, which is the Copyright Adjudication Small Claims Enforcement something. Congress likes their acronyms, so it's an acronym for dealing with copyright claims. The act creates an office within the Copyright Office that will adjudicate smaller claims. Now, one of the most difficult things that content creators have, particularly those who focus on internet content, is that much of their work is quite susceptible to copyright infringement. Copyright infringement is typically handled on a federal scale in federal courts. It's a federal law, so federal courts will hear it, but sometimes just getting into federal court is an expensive process and may not be the best case or the best way of adjudicating smaller claims. So as a general rule, federal courts are going to cost $400 to $500 just to file your complaint. That's the processing fee, plus several $1,000s to an attorney to prepare a claim. The claim that you may be making, a small claim, might only be worth $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. You can easily spend that amount of money in a federal court case before you even see a judge, let alone conduct a trial. So it's not the most efficient mechanism for resolving smaller copyright claims. The CASE Act creates a copyright adjudication office within the Copyright Office. These are not going to be judges, but they will have the power to impose fines for certain kinds of copyright violations. So the kind of smaller copyright violations that we're talking about might be something like somebody posts a photo on their personal web page. It's something that they took, and they're in the business of taking photographs, and somebody lifts that picture. Or they download the picture from a photographer's website or a writer's website, and they download information and then they pass it off as their own. So that is a copyright violation. As several copyright lawyers will tell you, when it comes to infringing copyrights, it's an either-or situation. It's kind of like being pregnant. Either you are pregnant or you're not. You're either infringing on the copyright or you're not. And then the question becomes one of fair use and other sorts of defenses. So the copyright, small claims copyright provision will have a mechanism where somebody can file a claim, and then that person will then, or the Copyright Office will then send out information to the defendant, for lack of a better term. And here's where things get a little dicey, because we'll have to see how the procedures are put in place by the Copyright Office. But it looks like the defendant would have to pay attention to what's going on and specifically opt out if they don't want to use the adjudication process, the small claims process. So the standpoint or the default is that everybody's going to be involved. And the hard part is that even if you don't defend your copyright action, small claims action, you could still be smacked around with up to a $30,000 fine for failing or for infringing on copyrights. So it can be expensive. It is designed to address a very specific problem, and one that I think is real. It is going to be helpful for content creators to be able to protect their work, and it is going to be helpful to potentially speed the process and limit the costs of obtaining some sort of relief. The problem is if you accidentally run afoul of these things, copyright is not a situation where there is, like I said before, you either are infringing or you're not. Even if it's quote unquote inadvertent, it may still be a copyright violation and you may still be fined. And if you don't go through the adjudication process in front of the small claims adjudicators, you might not be able to present a defense, which might include, I didn't even know it was copyrighted. So be mindful of this. I think it's a good development in terms of process, but I also am concerned that it may be ripe for abuse. We shall have to see how the implementing regulations are put in place. The statute itself, I'm going to put a link to it down below so that you can read it yourself. Just be mindful, it's written in congressional statutory information, so it does take a while to read, and it can be, well, insomnia curing if you're interested in that. But it is something that I think will be very helpful for content creators going forward, and we shall see. I will keep you posted on what is happening with the regulations as they come out. In the meantime, I will talk to everybody later. Have a good day. Bye.